until all have heard.
There's a moment, usually somewhere over the Atlantic, when you start asking yourself, what am I actually walking into? You've seen brochures, you've been in the informational meetings, maybe you've done this before, but going into another country looks quite different. Maybe something that you've never experienced before. Today on FIA's podcast, I want to take you there. I'm joining two people who were with me in a recent trip to Uganda. Ella, our FIA summer intern from Liberty University, and Camden Palmer, a team traveler who has been on a few other trips with us, stepping into East Africa for the first time though. Different backgrounds, different lens, same country. Before we get to what we saw and what we did, I want you to understand who we were going to see. If you've been with us for a while, James and Morgan are not new names to you. We've had James on the podcast not long ago, and that conversation, I still think about it. Morgan is the founder of Milandila Community Mission, which includes a clinic she helped build from the ground up to serve the surrounding community in Uganda. James and Morgan serve there full time. This is not a side project for them. This is their life. Our team went to support the ongoing work at the clinic, medical and community development, hands-on, on-site, trades training. And we brought a team of people with us who honestly had no idea how much the trip was going to ask of them. Ella, you're going to be the first up because your story starts before you even got on the plane. Ella, give the audience a little context on who you are and why Uganda was, let's say, not quite an obvious fit when you heard about what we may be doing on that trip.
Yes, I go to Liberty University. My major is interior design, and I have a minor in carpentry. I'm going into my senior year. I met FIA through we have something called Global Focus Week at Liberty, and they have different people come onto your halls for Wednesday when we have hall meeting. And FIA ended up being the ones to speak on my hall. I think it was Susie that spoke. And I was nervous, so I didn't say anything or ask any questions that night. But the next day before my class, I went over to their booth, asked some questions, got to know both Susie and Betty. And then I went to class and brought a friend actually back with me and just talked a little bit more. And yeah, I started the conversation of what an internship might look like being in interior design. And I emailed my interior design, the person who's over it for me in my department. And she said, yeah, that it would be fine to do for interior design just because, it's construction. Sure. So there's a building and you're still getting to know, a building and the interior of it. So, yeah, I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I was happy to go.
Yeah, so when we met, I think over a video call, we were kind of unpacking a little bit about what interior design development look like, and you mentioned you still have to know how the building's built, you still have to know aspects of the different trades. You just may not have to be experienced in those trades, but it all compiles to when the interior design scope of work gets to you. So we kind of related and talked about what to expect possibly on a short-term missions trip, because FIA focuses on construction and infrastructure service projects, not specifically interior design. But so what were your thoughts when you heard, okay, we're going to include a trip to Uganda in your internship, and it's going to be focused on construction trades? What were some of the first kind of the things as you were processing that?
I mean, honestly, I was initially really excited because I had just started taking a introduction course to my carpentry classes that I was going to take, and I was really excited about getting just more knowledge about a building in general. And I know that construction is just it's just good to have more knowledge, and then you're able to do more. And for interior design, I've had to take a building construction class, building codes, and other things. So I was excited to see how the knowledge that I've learned from that could intertwine and really see how that works and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was interested. It was intriguing, and I mean a little bit like, oh, what would I do? But I knew that the Lord was going to have something for me to do, and I was going to learn something.
Yeah. So things progressed pretty quickly after you were finished with school. I think you only had a one day, 1 or 2 days
Yeah,
with
2 days.
us, and then we were jumping on a plane to get to Uganda. So I'll bring Camden into the story here in a bit because Camden's traveled with us before. He's kind of had some of those first time experiences. So we get to Uganda. What was some of your first impressions? I mean, I know you've done a little bit of mission trips in the past, short-term mission trips in the past, but not to Uganda. So what was some of your first impressions when we kind of got to meet James and Morgan and started to just understand what the next 2 weeks may look like?
Yeah. Honestly, the first thing I noticed was just the community, and like the first moment from when James and you saw each other in the airport, I was like, oh, yep, they have a good relationship, and then it just continued throughout. And that's what stuck out to me the most. It was, I don't really like, I didn't really feel that culture shock. I don't know. I just kind of felt like I was just somewhere else with new people. And it was hot that first day. So that's definitely the first thing I realized. but yeah, and they were talkative. Everyone just wanted to get to know us, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So for first time people that maybe heard of FIA for the first time that are watching or thinking about short-term teams in their future, the flight there. I mean, we had smooth flights, but it was a long one. It was about 13 hours. What was your thoughts on the flight? A flight that long over to Uganda?
It was long. It all really depended on where you sat. On the way there, I had the window, but it was still, I think, going there was worse than coming back because I think there was just more nerves of going into the unknown, and it was, I was just, for me, I wasn't feeling great, so that didn't help. But the flight was fine. I mean, you kind of get to sleep, so that was nice to, once you could sleep, it was nice to sleep. But I thought the flight was there. It wasn't bad. I would do it again.
Yeah.
And any seat said, well, I was always beside one of you guys, so that was helpful. But yeah.
Good.
I mean, I found it nice just to either sleep or decompress or because I'm a nervous flyer.
Okay.
So yeah, I always have music when I'm taking off and landing.
Gotcha.
Just to distract me. But I mean, it was a good ride.
Yeah. Yeah, good. So we got there Saturday, and between Saturday and Sunday, we kind of unpacked what James had in mind for the project, for the scope of work that we were going to be doing. When you saw that, what was your first thoughts of the construction site where we were going to be?
Honestly, I thought, I don't know how I'm going to help, but I'm going to figure out a way to help. Because I knew that drywall on the ceiling was going to happen, and I was like, well, due to some health things, I'm physically limited. I was like, I can't help with that. And I'm not good with, I haven't done any, welding or anything or, anything like that. So I was just, interested to see, what I would do. And, I was just curious to see how that would pan out.
Yeah. So Camden, how about you? Let's hear a little bit. You've been connected with FIA for a few years now. But this is your first time in Uganda. You know James. I mean, you've known James and Morgan. You've heard their name through FIA and things before. What was your first thoughts as a welder, fabricator, and then looking at the job site that we were going to be working on? What were your first thoughts of what the 2 weeks could look like?
Well, when we first showed up to Milandila, like we walked into the clinic side, it was I was very impressed on like how like it looked in there. It was like super well done, super professional, and it kind of just encouraged me right off the get-go, just like how, we're in a different country, but we can still make a good product at the end of the day. And that was from Friends in Action working over there, but also, the teams being able to teach the locals. I mean, the locals did a lot of the work over there as well. So then we get into the family center side and the coffee shop side, and I I didn't like know exactly what we were gonna do or like what I was gonna do, because it was for me this trip was very different compared to Vanuatu, um, because in Vanuatu it was just kind of the team working together on that project, rather than this time we were gonna work side by side with the local guys there. Um, so the first couple days kind of felt like I'm not really doing anything because like they just want to jump, like local guys just want to jump in and do the work. They want to learn how to do it, and they do a great job once they know how to do it. So yeah.
Good. All right, so Ella, you kind of looked at the job site. You were seeing some things that possibly you couldn't do, and maybe even wondering like, what am I doing here, God? But then you got a chance to talk to Morgan. So tell me about that conversation and how the actual work that you did kind of rolled out through that conversation with Morgan.
Yeah, so I remember we were standing in the family center and we were just talking, just kind of looking around, and I I noticed it was me, Susie, and Morgan. And I don't know what we were talking about or how it came up, but it came up that I had done some painting at my church, just some shapes, like a kind of like a mural, but it was just some shapes and stuff in the kid area, in our kid zone area. And I mean, I don't know how that even came up, but it came up. And then something like Morgan, like something just flipped, and she was like, "Wait," and she was like, "Would you want to like paint something for us?" And at first I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know, what do they want? Like I didn't know what she was thinking. And I was like, I mean, you can show me what kind of inspiration you have. And I was like, I can see if I could. And she kind of showed me some inspiration, and I told her, I was like, yeah, I could do something. And even though I said yes, I didn't feel like confident in the moment. And I was really like, so I was like, Lord, why am I doing this? Out of all the things to pick for me to do, I never ever thought that I would be painting a mural in Uganda. And that was crazy. Like, I really don't know how the whole conversation went. I just know one minute she's asking me about painting, and I'm looking up inspiration and checking with her the next day, because I think it was Sunday when we toured, and that's when we were talking. So Monday, that evening, and then Monday I was looking at some other inspiration to be like, oh, do you like this or this? And trying to get like a color scheme as well. So it was, yeah, kind of nerve-wracking to do something like that, because I've never really done anything like that. Because
Yeah.
even though I did it at my church, I did a painting. The colors were kind of pre-chosen. They kind of did most of the design, and me and my mom just kind of, we changed it a little bit, but we just traced it and painted it. And so, yeah, I was really interested to see how
Yeah.
how it would turn out.
Yeah. So, for the listeners, I just want to kind of connect the dots here. As an interior design major on a construction trip in Uganda, and you ended up painting a mural, which will be on the wall of that clinic forever, welcoming ladies and families for years to come. I want every person listening who's talked to themselves out of a trip because they don't think that they have the right skill set. I want you to hear that. This trip found you. The job is to show up and to listen to where God has you. So that's really cool. You went not knowing what you could do, and God showed you through Morgan and a desire of painting a mural how you could serve over the time you were going to be spending there. One more thing before I move on to Camden. Tell us a little bit about the scaffolding in Uganda, because the mural, you had to start at the top of the wall and you kind of worked your way down. But there was scaffolding there that was constructed by the guys. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, well, actually, on the first day, I started at the bottom where I could reach. And then, yeah, I saw the scaffolding that they had in the family center, and I was like, what are they gonna do? Because I was like, they're higher than normal walls because it went even higher than the others.
Right.
And I was like, what are they gonna do? And I was really nervous. But Maddox did a great job. He told me that he would do it, and he would make sure it was sturdy, that he would do a little dance to make sure that it was sturdy. And it was sturdy.
That's right.
The first time getting up there, kind of nervous. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, ah. But when I got up there, I was good. At first, it didn't have a railing, but we got him to put in a railing, which made it actually a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I was actually able to use that to get to the other side. And so I was a bit more comfortable. But once I was up there I was comfortable. I was, just enjoying my time up there, and I really loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting to see, because I think that was probably the most best built scaffolding I've ever seen in Uganda, because I've been going there quite a few years, and a railing. So I don't think I've ever seen a railing on the hand built scaffolding. So they did a great job making sure you felt comfortable.
Yeah, I think it helped that I was really nervous about it, and I was like, okay. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to bring Camden into the conversation more. We kind of jumped in a little bit earlier, but for the listeners that may not have seen you with FIA before, give us a little bit about who you are and your mission background with FIA.
So yeah, I'm Camden. I'm 22. I am a welder by trade. That's what I do full time. And back in 2024 was my first time kind of talking to Friends in Action. My dad had sent me an email talking about a trip to go to Vanuatu on a welding project, and I've always been interested in mission trips. My grandfather was a missionary and did a lot of trips, so I was always interested in it, but I always just didn't feel like I had the skills to go over and do the projects. But then, God created this plan out for this trip where it was a welding project. So yeah, I got in contact with you, Andy, and we had talked, and then so I went to Vanuatu in 2024 to do the roof expansion, and so that was my first time traveling with you guys.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming to Uganda too. We had a little bit of a mixed scope. We had a little bit of regular construction, the drywall that Ella mentioned, but also we were going to try to get to build some steel framing for a greenhouse there for the farming expansion project. So tell me about your first experience. I mean, this is your first time in Africa. Tell me your first thoughts, like I did Ella, when you got there after experiencing Vanuatu not too long ago.
Yeah, so I mean, first landed, and once we got out of the airport, I mean, the airports are always different than the actual the culture there. But yeah, when we were just driving to James and Morgan's house, just like, I don't know, the different landscape you see, and like just the roads are not, I don't know if you'd even call them roads, but and then the traffic and the motorcycles or the bodas, and but I just, like, when we first got to James and Morgan's house, they have a couple locals that live there with James and Morgan, and they just were very welcoming and very kind, and they immediately just wanted to get to know you and talk to you and like become your friends, and just very kind people. and then all the kids running around. They like, we just had a long day of traveling, and they just want to play, and it's just it just goes to show the relationship that Friends in Action has built over there with the locals, that it's just very welcoming.
Yeah, good. So can you point to one thing maybe that surprised you the most when you got to Uganda?
I would say just I don't know if it was exactly on the first day we were there, but I think one of the biggest things that just kind of surprised me was when we went to church on Sunday. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I had gone to church in Vanuatu,
but it was different than Vanuatu.
It was very, very different. So we were there for 3 hours, which is a lot longer than here in the States, but it didn't feel like we were there for 3 hours at all. Even though, you don't understand anything they're saying, it still is just super encouraging to be able to sit there and just look of how much they love the Lord, and they are just so joyful to be there, and they're singing and to praise the Lord, and just super encouraging for you just to know that, they live all around the world, but they love God just as much as we love God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorite experiences. I'm glad we got a chance to experience another cultural church, because as much as I travel, I love to get to church and just see how different people worship the same God.
Yep.
And it kind of gives you a taste of what heaven is going to look like with different cultures coming together and praising God. And those 3 hours, you're right, they did go quickly. And then that wasn't the pastor that we sat and listened to. That wasn't even the pastor who was going to then give the sermon. So I don't think I've connected that until James said, the main pastor is now going to get up and preach. So it's like, oh, we just sat through a sermon. So.
Yeah, I think James said it was like a 6-hour service or something like that.
Yeah. So it brings to like, I know I've shared with people when you get back to the States, and it happens to me every time when I go to church the Sunday after a trip, and you just you break, for me, of course, missions has made me very emotional anyway, but I just break down and realize we're sitting in this beautiful air-conditioned church with padded seats and projectors and sound systems that work correctly, and how spoiled we are.
Oh, yeah.
At 20 minutes into a sermon, we're looking at, me too, we're looking at our watch and is Pastor Steve going to wrap up?
Yeah.
And we literally lost track of time sitting in that service on plastic lawn chairs and sound systems that didn't work, no air conditioning, and we lost track of time. And it's such a reality and almost a reverse culture shock for me every time. And Susie would attest every time when I get back. So I'm glad you guys got a chance to just experience that as well. So Camden, you mentioned earlier that working on the site looked a little bit different than what we did in Vanuatu and working with the guys. Tell me a little bit about how that impacted you. We'll talk about the family center, the drywall and stuff first before we get into the welding. But tell me about how that impacted you and just I'll let you unpack.
Okay. Yeah, so kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but when we were in Vanuatu, it was more of a team project. We didn't really have any locals helping with the roof project. So that's kind of what I was used to, just because that's what I experienced. And so then when we went to Uganda, and we had talked, obviously, in our meetings before going, you had mentioned that we were going to be working with locals there. And I wouldn't say I was nervous about it, but I just didn't know how that was going to look. Mm-hmm. So, it's a slow process of getting, started with the work. We have to figure out what we need. You can't just go, to a hardware store that has everything we need, So as far as with working with the locals, there wasn't really any period that was kind of awkward. It's just everyone immediately kind of clicked together, and we were just able to, work side by side, and they they wanted to know about me. They wanted to know what my life was like back here in the States. You know, they were asking me all types of different questions. And it was just, we had very good communication. And every single day we were there, those relationships just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So there wasn't really, yeah, it wasn't any awkward moments of like, oh, I don't know, what to say to these people or anything. It was just, it just kind of clicked,
Yeah. So what did you see as far as their work ethic and just how they engaged with the actual work once we got going?
I think we should bring them here.
Oh, trust me, they would love to come to America.
That would be
They would
amazing.
love to come back and with us, that's for sure.
I was like very impressed. They are very hardworking. They, it wasn't even just the local guys, even the kids, like they
Yeah.
want to be involved just as much as anybody else. And it's not the fact that they don't want to do the work. It's just, they need to know how to do it.
Yeah.
And, you just give them simple tips and just kind of explain, hey, this is what you do here and there. And then they want to do it. They'll take the drill out of your hand because they want to do it,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was awesome to see. Like, they work super hard, nonstop. And they were there before us and they were there when we left,
Yeah.
So it's just super encouraging to know that also we can, leave and they can, finish projects or go find work to be able to do this kind of work that they learned.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the kids first when we got there, and then every evening they'd be running to open the gate for the vehicle to come through and welcomed us, and they wanted to carry our backpacks and our water bottles, and then they wanted to play soccer after we just worked all day.
Yeah.
But it just shows like the welcoming environment that James and Morgan had built in the village of Lusanja, and because they have two boys, and just the engagement of those kids there. For me, I've seen them for the last 4 years, and I've starting to see them grow up,
Yep.
and it's just, yeah, it warms your heart. You just can't help but love on them kids
Yeah.
when you see them playing. So yeah, that's one extra piece we get when we go to Uganda
Yeah.
for sure. So. All right, so we covered a little bit of the mural and your time spent there, and Camden, you started helping the guys with drywall and starting to go that route. So let's talk about home visits. Our trip was cut a little short, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But Camden, you got to experience a home visit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, when they were first talking about home visits, I didn't know, if I wanted to go. I didn't know how to feel about it.
So first, okay, so tell me when they explained to you we're going to go on home visits, explain to the viewers or listeners what a home visit was.
Yeah, so with Milandila, there's a group of ladies that go out to the different women that are going to help or going to give birth there at Milandila. So they go out I don't know if it's a couple times a week or once a week, but they go out and just visit with the ladies, check up on them, see how they're doing, and just build those relationships. It's just to get to know them and for the women to feel like they have people to care for them. So yeah, they had mentioned to go on home visits, and so we ended up going. Me and Susie went, and we went on 3 different home visits, and the first thing that they told us was that the women of their ages, and the 3 women's ages were 17, 18, 19, and that was kind of surprising to hear. That's different from the States. We have kids later in life than earlier. So the first home visit we went on, I think she was 19, and she had already had her kid, but we had just sat in one of the churches there and to meet her, and we just sat in a circle, and she walked in, and she was like just a bundle of joy. Like, she was just so happy to come and meet us, and she just wanted to get to know us, and we wanted to get to know her, and we got to meet her little boy, and you can just tell that they just love their kids. Even though it for her it was not expected to have a kid. She wasn't preparing to have one. And she had a rough story.
So Camden, on that home visit, the young ladies that you met, this young lady told you a bit of her history or her story. Share about that.
Yeah, so she, like I said, she was 19, and she had a boyfriend, and unfortunately, when she got pregnant, her boyfriend had threatened that he was going to kill her and her baby. So that was very sad to hear. I guess for back here in the States, you want to, when you bring a kid in, you want two loving parents. And so it was kind of just, I wouldn't say it was sad. It was just like we wanted to be able to like communicate to her that we care about her. We care about her and her kid, and just love on her. And like I said, she loved her kid. She was so excited about him, and she wanted all of us to hold him. And so it was awesome to see. And yeah, we went on two other ones. And the other one, it was, for me, it was the ability that we got to be in their shoes. We got to see how they live, and we went into their homes and we got to see them. A lot of them live in, single homes with, one bed, and some of them have multiple kids, but they make it work. They still work hard. They provide for their kids. They love their kids. So, and each one, we just sat either in the house or outside, and we would just, be able to talk to them and tell them how much, God loves them, and pray over them. And the second one, she actually accepted Christ as her Lord and Savior. So that was awesome to see. And it was just super encouraging for me to be there.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I appreciate you sharing. Unfortunately, Ella, you didn't get a chance to go out on a home visit because our trip was cut short. So I do want to bring this to discussion too, because it was the first time for FIA. So it was probably, I think maybe Wednesday, maybe late Tuesday, Wednesday, just when the work was starting to get rolling and just when we were starting to build relationships. You got going on your mural. We got notification of the Ebola breakout in the Congo. Even though it was nowhere near us in Uganda, it did affect Uganda, Congo, and South Sudan, and the State Department issued a level 4 travel. So basically, level 4 travel means do not travel to those areas. We were already there. It didn't tell us that we had to evacuate. We were already there. It just told us about the information about the Ebola breakout a little bit. And again, it wasn't, I want to make sure the listeners are clear, it wasn't where we were at specifically, and we didn't come in contact with it or even had a fear of coming in contact. However, with due diligence and stewardship, FIA started to consider what would happen if we got stuck there, if the Ebola would break out quickly. So it was a process that Friends in Action leadership team and our risk awareness team kind of had to look at for the first time. Like, do we need to evacuate the team? What does that look like for flights out? So it was kind of, we started a process of at least starting to have that conversation as a team. When you heard us first start talking about that, Ella, what started going through your mind?
At first, I was really disappointed. I was like, I don't want to leave. I'm like, maybe because like earlier on we didn't know if we were or not. It was just a discussion. I was like, I really hope that we get to stay because I was having a great time painting and building relationships, and I just wanted to keep going. Morgan and James were loving the idea of getting even more painting in other rooms.
That's right.
And I was getting excited, and I was planning to have a home visit on Friday. Initially it was sad to think about that it might happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Camden, what did you think?
Yeah, when, we first heard about it and we kind of just sat as a team and talked about it, and yeah, I really wasn't worried about it. But I didn't want to leave. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what Ella said is, we were just getting into the swing of things. We were just getting used to being there, and we were making good progress on work, and at that point, we had me and Andy had switched to working on the garden project, and I was looking forward to doing that and getting that done. But yeah, like I was not. I wouldn't say I was disappointed because it's not our plan, it's God's plan, and everything happens in His timing. So it was just one of those things where, we all had to deal with, just praying about it, trusting God, and, just leaving it to Him. And, so yeah, we all had our feelings and we all didn't want to leave. But like I said, it was just up to God.
Yeah. No, I can say as a team leader, I've never experienced a withdrawal from a country. But I could also say this team was amazing as far as adapting to the change. And there was no, I mean, it was a God thing because I know the staff and the team back here at headquarters in Canada were praying just for the flexibility that the team would have, that there'd be no hard feelings, no issues as far as disappointment. I mean, yeah, we were all sad. We were starting to really get rolling and really doing life with the guys there and with James and Morgan. But I can't say enough how much I appreciate both of you and the other team members of just your heart to adapt to the change. So then by Thursday, I was having conversations back here with Betty, our team coordinator, and just we did notify the family members and things that there was these considerations. So FIA did a good job at communicating with the folks back home here, but it was some serious consideration of what would happen, how hard would it be to withdraw if we stayed another week and it got worse. So by Thursday, there were a couple cases on the border of Uganda, again far away from us, but it would appear that things were going to get worse. Our travel agent recommended that we start looking at flights. So I'll fast forward just to not to prolong the conversation, but when we thought we had reserved flights and we decided to withdraw on Saturday, so we would have been there a full week, it looked like those seats were then no longer available. So things were happening quickly. So we ended up booking flights to start to travel home on a Friday. So we were there just a little bit less than a week. And it was tough. I know it was a tough decision for FIA to make, but I respect the decision they made because it allows us to not only show the team members that we care about, their safety and getting them home and logistics, but I think it builds into the confidence of who FIA as a whole is and our risk awareness team and the seriousness that they take that role. So, and then we actually found out on the way home Friday that they started to shut down some public transportation and things in Uganda. One of the coolest things that I shared when we got back in the airport on it would have been Saturday morning then when we landed back in the U.S. is I got a video from Medi and it showed the drywall almost done in those days. And it goes back to what you were saying, Camden, like these guys, they want to learn and then they just want to do it themselves. So it was neat to see. I know when you and I were working on the garden greenhouse welding, some of the other guys were showing them how to finish drywall. And it was just amazing to see that they were finishing the drywall. They got the walls painted, and things like that. So it reinforces like when we went to Uganda, for our first trip of FIA to build James and Morgan's house. That's when we really started training the guys. And then the next year we train them a little more. And then the next year we train them a little more. And you can see now that basically FIA provides work teams to go and work alongside them. We still do some training for different things, but it's more of like joining them in their work, not them joining FIA in their work. So it's really cool to see that transition over time. So just want to wrap up with a couple things. We talked about the kind of the scope of work, the relationships, the situation we had to leave early because of Ebola. I want the listeners to really hear your heart for what you've experienced in just that short week. So I want to just kind of open up, go a little off the script, and just hear from you guys. So Ella, share a little bit still what's on your heart.
Yeah, I mean, that that week, even though it was kind of less than a week, but it really made an impact on me. And it's really cool to look back and see that for me, God was working from before I even knew I was going to go on it. He was working at Liberty. He was working the semester before that I was even thinking about it. Because he put Susie on my hall to speak about it, and I would have never known because I don't usually walk around. So it was really cool to see like the Lord was working then, and then he was continuing to work while I was there. We got there. Church. I agree with all that Camden said earlier. It was amazing to see because for me, I had been out of the country before, but on my other mission trip out of the country, I got sick, so I wasn't able to go to church or experience it, what it was like there. So this is my first time experiencing like a church like in a different culture, and it was amazing. It was so great to see the joy. Like we didn't know what they were saying all the time. Sometimes like I eventually figured out some of it. But it was just a joy to see them singing and the dancing. They just kept dancing, and that's like something we don't see that here. And again, we were there for 3 hours. I didn't think that we were there for 3 hours. You said that, I was like, were we actually?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty great, and just the whole experience. I mean, I was praying after the first day. I was like, Lord, how what else am I gonna do? Like I knew that me and Morgan had the conversation about the mural, but I was like, we hadn't like started the ball rolling on that. And it was amazing to see the Lord working through that and getting that opportunity to do that. I mean, I've learned so much about interior design in my classes, but I never thought I would actually like physically like feel and see the impact that just one wall having something else on it.
Well, didn't you see the joy in the ladies? Just
Yes.
It made it feel so much more warmer.
Yeah,
like
it really changed the whole atmosphere of the whole place, the whole clinic, and it was really crazy to be able to witness that. I mean, it really goes along with what they're doing, and like when I was painting one day, they had one of their classes, and they were just their stretching or like warming up. It was just all these pregnant women in a circle dancing, and I was like, "This is amazing." I was like,
I had forgotten about that. Honestly,
yes,
sorry.
They brought Morgan in, and then Bill started dancing, and I was like, "This is absolutely hilarious."
It was great to see the video. Yeah,
it was so great to witness that, and it was so. They tried to get Susie, but Susie
wasn't going to do that.
But it was so amazing, and I was like, and yeah, they were all super excited to see. Like they kept like having conversations with me, different people in like the clinic, like the nurses and stuff. Because they were interested in what was going to happen early on. They were like, so what is it going to look like? I was like, good question. I have a kind of an idea. I was like, I knew I wanted to keep it organic. And I added like some leaves and plants, and I wanted like the colors to be pretty like calming and bring kind of the nature in, because I mean, that's a big thing. Like bringing like nature it really is calming, and it was really fun to be able to do that for them and then see the impact. Like I got a picture from Morgan, and they're all still like, it's just like it really just changed the whole atmosphere. And what I think is really, really cool is that you see it before you even walk into the building.
Yeah.
Like
you
you're
can see it from
on
the
road walking in, and you can see it because it's right there. And I didn't think you could see it, but and then Shad was like, have you gone? And James was like, have you stepped back?
Yeah.
I was like, I stepped back a little bit. They were like, have you stepped like all the way back?
Yeah.
And once I did, I was like, this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, I never thought that I would impact, like, it's just a whole nother thing to really see like the impact that just something on one wall can make.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was able to be in the family center a little bit. I needed a break from my painting before the scaffolding, so I was in the other room painting, and the first day I was doing the wire brushing. That was tiring. And I was like, that was when I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I got to know a few of them pretty well, and again, talking That's why I was excited for early on another week so I could get to know them even more, because since I was doing kind of my own thing,
Yeah.
I was able to talk to them, but not as much as you guys did or Camden was able to. I mean, for lunch and stuff, or if I just needed a break, I would go in. But it was still really great that whatever conversations I had, especially on like that first day, was amazing. And like what made it also easier is we all clicked easy. I mean,
Yeah, this was a really great team.
that's like my mom was asking about that too, and I was like, it was just amazing how like we all just kind of fell into groove, and that made it easier to then like communicate with the others. I mean, I was concerned about like communication. I was like, what is that going to be like?
Well, yeah, you bring
I
a
knew that
team
they
together
could-
from
yeah.
people all over the country and with different personalities and different backgrounds and
Lots of different personalities.
yeah.
It just goes to show that God
Yeah.
picked each one of us for this team, and it
that's
just
awesome.
is like, it was like a well-oiled machine, and the fact that, we didn't have to focus on the team. We could take that energy and focus on the locals and give that attention.
Yeah, because like we also got to know each other, like in like breakfast and supper, like in time at like the guest house. So that made it easier for us, like especially early on, just to get to know each other. But yeah, it made it so much easier to like, since we didn't have to worry about us as much, we could focus on getting to know them and them getting to know us as well. But yeah, if even knowing the outcome of leaving early, I would 100% go back all over again.
Yeah.
Like no doubt. It was
Why, yeah.
amazing. It was so fun, and I mean, everyone I've talked about has seen how much joy and that I've had talking about this. I mean, I can't help but smile when I
Yeah,
talk about it
yeah.
because it's just the reminder of like the people there and the impact that they're really making on the community is really great.
Yeah, Lord willing, you'll go back with us next year.
I really, really hope so. I mean, Morgan is really wanting some
Yeah, I
more
don't think
painting.
anybody else is going to paint
I don't
the
think
walls.
anyone else is going to paint the walls. They're like, you have to finish the paint.
That's right.
'Cause we got a little too much.
Well, it's funny because then we came home and I had to basically rewrite your whole internship because I recognized really what you were passionate about. So now you're painting a mural downstairs
Yeah.
in our lobby of our logo, and it
Again,
looks wonderful.
Never thought that I would be painting for missions or just in my life in general. That's just something that I've kept to myself and kept small too. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you
The Lord
definitely
is
have you
shocked.
definitely have an eye for it, and it's funny you touched on something. I'll go a little off down a rabbit trail here a little bit, but you touched on something like what that mural did just to people coming in and seeing it, and ladies just seeing it, just making it a warmer place. I know a couple years ago, FIA brought in Rick Bernhardt and Rick Bernhardt Designs. There's a little plug for Rick if he's listening, but he totally went through our headquarters here and refreshed it with interior design. And it was all, and he explained, like, he went around to all of our staff members who have offices and says, what do you want your space to look like? What do you come to enjoy? If you're going to spend this much time at work, you want to enjoy your space. You want it to be welcoming to your guests. You want it to invite people in. And I think all of those points that he made when he redesigned our offices here is what you spoke about, that one simple mural does now when those ladies see it from really when they walk in the front door of the clinic.
Yeah, when me and Morgan were talking, it was for me, I was like, this is my first time basically, not like a client, but getting an experience with that. And I really wanted to make sure like I was doing what she wanted. I wanted like, what do you want? And made sure like, what kind of colors do you want? And like what kind of style? And I really wanted to gear it towards that. And it really is just, it's amazing to see like what something like that can do.
All right, Camden, let's shift to you. Share some experiences, something else that may be on your heart. I know it was really cool, and I got a bunch of really neat pictures with you when we were down starting the project at the greenhouse. You were showing the boys to weld a little bit. We had to make sure that they knew you have to look through the lens and not directly at the flash.
Yeah.
That's a little bit because they don't typically wear shields over there. Baker wears sunglasses. If you're lucky, he'll wear sunglasses. So it was a little bit there. We want to make sure we protected the kids, but it just brought joy to my heart to see you doing that with these boys. So share not only that, but just maybe some other thoughts that are on your heart.
Yeah. I guess I'll just kind of work through the week. I think for anybody that's traveling, you're gonna have some nerves, going. You're going to a new place you've never been, to new people. You're leaving your family, and so like for me, it's not that like it's like have scared nerves. It's more just like how is God going to use me for this trip? Um, and when we get there, talking to James, talking about the project, just, seeing what I'm gonna do. And this trip for me was like a complete 180 compared to Vanuatu. Um, because Vanuatu, we landed and like immediately started work, immediately started welding, and that entire 2 weeks I was working, I was welding, we were getting the project done. And like that was and that trip was cool because, we're in Vanuatu, which was a tropical island, and we had no rain at all for those 2 weeks until the very last day we had rain. And like it was kind of cool because we could just spend the time there talking to the missionaries there. But in Uganda, I really felt,
Which isn't a tropical island.
yeah, which is not. We had more rain in Uganda than we did in Vanuatu.
That's right.
But what in Uganda, I really felt God put on my heart for this trip was the relationships,
Okay.
not the work. I wouldn't say I felt useless over there. It was just I didn't have to work as much because the guys there knew what to do and they wanted to do the work. And that just opened up that time for me to get to know the guys and to talk to them and see where they're walking with the Lord and just, get to know them and build those relationships. Which that was a, something to walk through for me myself just because, I'm just so used to working, having the States mindset of like work, work, work. So it was kind of like something new. And like I said, I don't feel like I was useless. It was just I put my energy into something else. And I think that's like the biggest thing I've gotten out of this trip was just these trips. Yeah, we are going over there to do the work to support the missionaries. But overall, it's just about relationships. It's just about going over there and sharing about God and what he can do in their lives and for them to know that he's always with them. So yeah, that was something that, I was kind of walking through while I was over there. And, we had started, well, I think it was Thursday that we had just started working on the garden. And, we dug all those holes. We kind of had, me and Andy kind of had to restart doing some of the holes.
Yeah, we had to kind of square up the whole building a little bit.
But yeah, we just dug holes and poured concrete with those guys all day, and like it was nonstop. And so yeah, that was like a good feeling, we were just finally starting that project, and I was really looking forward to, seeing the outcome of what it was going to look like when we were getting done. And that's a cool experience what James is doing there as far as like growing the coffee and then being able to teach, some of the women at the clinic on how to grow coffee and then eventually be able to, take it to the coffee shop that James is building. So that's really cool just to see how James is taking something that is very well known in Uganda as coffee and helping to give some of the locals a way to do that for work or to make money. So yeah, I was like a little disappointed that, I think Thursday was the day that we had learned that we were definitely leaving Friday then. And just as much as we were sad to leave, all the local people, they were just as
That's a good point.
weren't upset that we were leaving. They just were like had the same feelings as us, and that was really cool to see that it wasn't just us feeling like we were building relationships; they were building relationships as well with us. So yeah, that was and I completely understand why we left. That was something new that we had to deal with. is our family is seeing the outside point of view, and we're in country and seeing the inside point of view where it is completely normal. No one's freaking out. We weren't worried about it. We wanted to stay, but we're also having to deal with our family's emotions back home because they only see what's is being broadcasted on the news. So that was, not saying you'll have to deal with that, but it is a possibility, going to these countries. So that was something new that I had to walk through and deal with. So yeah, and then shout out to Eric. He's my guy.
Yeah.
Eric, Eric's called me twice now since I've been back in the
That's awesome.
States. So
He's been messaging
Nice.
me too.
Yep, that's
it's,
great.
Baker and Eric and Mehdi and Shad, all those guys,
That's great.
just been able to talk to them while we're back here. And that just goes to show to me that is why I was there, was to build those relationships and not maybe to do as much work, even though that's what I was expecting to do. But yeah, it was just an amazing experience, and I'll definitely go back. And yeah, so it was a blessing just for me to be able to go.
I
Yeah.
feel like in a way it was the opposite for me. I was like expecting to like the community, but I ended up doing a lot of like work by myself, which is it's where I'm comfortable too.
Yeah.
But like with doing that though, I ended up actually impacting like the place more than I thought. So yeah, I was kind of sad that I didn't get to know the guys as much.
Yeah.
But I still got to know a few of them. Eric and Joseph are the ones that I
Yeah.
mostly got to know because they were painting and they were all.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just, it's really
It was
cool.
just awesome to see what James and Morgan have built
Yeah.
over there. The clinic is just a free space for anybody just to walk into and to see how they have local people working at the clinic, and they are just very caring to these women. Anybody can walk in there and can feel that the clinic is a home for them. So it was just an amazing experience just to see what James and Morgan have built over there in the community.
Yeah.
And like you can go like on the home visits, people know where you're coming from because of what James and Morgan have built.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to share with you guys something. I talked to James just the other day, and he shared. I'll try to get through it without breaking down. But so he shared they recently had two ladies come in for a C-section that they couldn't pay for. So of course that's cost to the Milandila's organization itself, and Milandila raises funds to operate. So it was a cost to Milandila. But then there was a lady, and the clinic serves, like you said, anyone, whether you have the funds or whether you don't have the funds.
Yeah.
But then not long after those two, or even maybe around the same time, there was a lady come in and paid to have a C-section, and that C-section covered the cost. She didn't know it at the time, but that C-section covered the cost of the two ladies that couldn't afford it.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So it's just really neat to see that God meets those needs because James and Morgan have been so faithful at carrying out his work in the community there. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So I do want to wrap up, but before I do, I'm going to ask both of you, because we want listeners who may be on the fence of traveling short-term missions to really understand. And that's what this season's about, is hearing from team travelers. So what's one thing that you can share, Camden, with someone that may be listening or watching that's on the fence whether to travel on a short-term mission trip or not?
I would say absolutely do it, but it requires you to be faithful and not to have your own expectations. If you are feeling called to go on a mission trip, it's not because it's your plan, it's God's plan. And he's going to use you because he's given you the talents to do what involves in the mission trip. So it just comes down to being faithful to God and trusting his plan.
Good. Ella, same question to you. If someone's listening or watching that may be on the fence or not sure that they could go on a short-term mission trip.
Yeah, I would definitely say do it. Pray about it, and if that's what the Lord is calling you, he'll do it. One of the things in Orient that was mentioned was God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And that was definitely something that I got
That
to
you
experience.
Yeah.
Was I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew that it was construction and I would probably do something, but I'm also like, okay, being on the other side of this, a female, what all am I going to do? And I mean, it was really amazing. And I encourage anyone, like, if God is calling you there, he will equip you with something. And my little sister, actually, she just recently asked me, she's like, what would it look like if I did? Someone who is
That's awesome.
very girly girl. I was like, honestly, if the Lord's calling you there, I mean, you can just go there just to be with the women.
Be with the women, yeah.
I was like, because I got to go and meet one of the women, and I mean, any of them that were walking by were always wanting to stop and just chit chat, even like the workers. And for me, like, I have all this I was self-doubting. I was doubting myself if I could actually pull off this painting and actually be able to do this. And I was doubting myself so much, but hearing from, even back at home, from like, I told my mom about this, but just having everyone stop by and like being like, this is so cool. Like, I'm sure I could have done horribly and they still would have loved it. But like, being able to like have those people come and want to know what you're doing, because for them it's so out of the ordinary. And just, they wanted to hear about what I was doing in the plan. And I was like, there really isn't a plan, just kind of going with it. And it definitely was the Lord providing. And it was really like heart and life changing for me, this trip of my heart, to see like the Lord really does provide. And just seeing the people like come in and how they interact with them is just, it really is amazing. And so, I mean, even if you're not into any of the trades, like you guys have other ones, and just go for the people. I mean, that's really, you can learn so much from the people. And I mean, you can help them, but they also help you.
Oh, yeah.
I got to, you guys weren't there, but I got to share a little bit about me, and one of the nurses came up because I was hesitant to share, because I'm not much for speaking about my life or just speaking in general. But she came up to me afterwards and she said, I really needed to hear that.
That's awesome.
And that just made almost like the whole week worth it, just to have that little tiny time to talk about what the Lord has done in my life. It was really encouraging to hear, like, I needed to hear that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And it was definitely, I like prayed about sharing, and I was planning on sharing more, but we were cut short. So it was like right when I was just trying to get up the courage. And so I would have shared a little more, but it was, it's the people, just go for the people. Like, it's great to have like skills and to do something, and I mean, everyone has their own talents, and the Lord will provide for that. And so, it's just been great to see how the Lord works in not just me, but in the other people around me, and just,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate both of you sharing. And we're not sure why the Lord called us back to the States early. If it wasn't just to ensure that the guys were confident that they could finish themselves without us, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we may never know, but I just thank you for your flexibility and your adaptability through those changes.
I mean, I saw God, and I'm not good with change, and I accepted that easy peasy. I was like, my mom, I was talking to my family, and they're like, we're really surprised how you handled that. I'm like, it was definitely all the Lord, because I would have been like all out, but it was just, it's another amazing place that you just see the Lord is like, he will provide. And it was definitely something I was like, where's this peace coming from? Like, the Lord differently. Yeah.
Well, Ella and Camden, thank you for being honest about what you didn't know before you went, and for bringing the listener with you into what you found there in Uganda. There's something James and Morgan have built in Uganda that is worth going to see for sure. It's not as a tourist, but as a participant. Milandila Community Mission is doing work that outlasts any single team. And I think we explained that a little bit, just empowering these guys to do the work. And they welcome people who are willing to show up and ask what the trip needs of them, not what we're going to get out of the trip. If today's conversation stirred something in you as a listener, if you heard Ella's story and thought, that could be me, or if you heard Camden and thought, I need to go back, then take the next step. Go to fiaintl.org/go, fill out the form. Someone will get back to you with help and figure out whether it's Uganda or Vanuatu or West Africa or somewhere else that's right for your next steps. The trip finds you, but you have to be willing to go. I'm Andy, and this is FIA's podcast, Till All Have Heard. We'll see you next time.